Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle. It's Monday, April the 11th, and as like every Monday, I'm Ross Benjamin, by the way, if you didn't know that already. And my partner on Mondays, Mr. Doug Upstone from DocSports.com. Doug wasn't with us on Thursday because he had a prior commitment, but he's back, and we're happy he is. So, Doug, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, Ross. Had a had a lot of fun. It wasn't actually that eventful. It was entertaining, but not necessarily eventful. The Masters this weekend, that was good stuff. And Scotty Scheffler, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. Here's something you would know, and not unless you're a golf fan. This was so coming in I was going to say 58 days ago, he had never won a golf tournament. Okay, been playing for a couple of years, a few years on the PGA Tour, talented. Everybody knew he had ability and everything else. And he'd made a very good living in his time on the tour, but he had never won. Well, so then he finally won basically 2 months ago. Now he's won, including yesterday, he's won 4 of his last 6 starts that he's made.
Wow.
That's really on a great streak. And he's only made $8.4 million in that stretch.
That is a typical rags to riches kind of thing.
Yeah. So, but he's the real deal. And I had him as my best bet on a top 10 bet. And he was my top play. So that was good. And that was kind of over early and often from that standpoint.
Yeah, I made a small bet, Doug.
Oh, all right.
I'm first ever golf bet I've ever made in my life. I made a
There you
small
go.
bet on. I had got Dustin Johnson at plus 1,200 before the tournament started, and he gave it a go for a couple rounds, and then he fell out in the third round, and I think he shot par yesterday and finished at -1, but he finished in the top 10. So.
Well, now you'll know that's where the action is. Look at those top 10s and feel at longer shots at the top 20s. That's where I mean, you're not going to get rich. I mean, if it's like horse racing. If you can hit the 20-to-1 shot, that's great.
Yeah.
But how many 20-to-1s are you going to hit?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing.
It's hard to win. It's hard to win a golf, even though you just the gentleman you just alluded to has won 4 of the last 6 tournaments, he said.
Yep. That he's played it.
That's rare, right, Doug? I mean,
very rare.
So
I mean, guys get hot, from time to time, but to continue to win. But he obviously likes winning, so he's got on a good feel for that. And another good example yesterday of doing let's just say tournament golf in particular, which is what I prefer to do. Some guys like to do the head-to-head, but Rory McIlroy. After two rounds, he was +2. Okay, on the tournament. Looked like, I think the cut was 4, so he was obviously towards the back end after 2 rounds. Well, the next 2 days he shoots 9 under and finishes second. Okay, so anybody that had him, I did not, but he had it for a top 5 or a top 10. Made some nice cash with him. So that's why.
And that's if you made the bet after 2 rounds, correct?
No, you that's another bet, but I'm saying pre-tournament.
Oh, pre-tournament. Okay.
Yeah. So if you make the bet, well, it's no different than, as opposed to live betting. It's no different than betting any other sport. You're basically getting 4 quarters. In this case, you get 4 rounds, and sometimes you just have to have a little patience and believe in the guy. And now Roy. Not many people know this. I talked to somebody yesterday that I know and very familiar with this. They're head-to-head with Rory McIlroy yesterday, because McIlroy is, let's just say, notorious in some cases for kind of has one mediocre round, and he's pretty far back in the pack, and then he'll shoot 5 or 6 under on Sunday and go up the scoreboard, just shoot up like he did yesterday. So he's rarely a bad bet in those situations. That's for sure. Right, but I had a good week. Yeah, I was up 8 units, Ross. So
what'd you have? Who'd you have again?
Well, I had him. I had Cameron Smith, who ended up finishing, I believe, tied for 3rd. I had him for a top 10. I had Justin Thomas. I had him for a top 5 and a top 10. He missed out on the top 5. He had 1 bad round. He just couldn't quite get over the top, but he finished in the top 10. So I had that one. And then I had Brooks Koepka, and he didn't even make the cut. He was just brutal. And so didn't make the cut. But so very good week overall. And
Good for
the
you.
Masters, always fun to watch. And it's where that big screen TV really comes into play, Ross, with all those colors that you see and all that green.
Yeah, the beauty, especially when it's at Augusta.
Yes.
So I'm talking to Doug Upstone right now from DocSports.com. And yes, this is our baseball edition. We will have 2 Major League Baseball free picks, but just a friendly reminder, folks, you can get Doug he's very good when it comes to PGA betting. So you want to check him out at DocSports.com. It's going to be a long summer once basketball ends and it's just baseball. You want to give yourself something to squeeze for on a weekend and you're a golf aficionado, even if you're a casual golf observer, you might want to check out Doug's golf picks that are very affordable. And a typical cliche that I use all the time, and I hate to overuse it, is you pay a little to make a lot. So check them out there. And you know what, folks, talk about winning. Again, we've been on fire with our free picks here on this channel. And if you have not subscribed already, please take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing. There's no strings attached. And hit that notification bell while you're there, and you'll be alerted immediately upon any of our free pick videos going up on this channel. I had the Kansas City and Cleveland game for you guys on Saturday. I had the under 8.5, and the final score was 1-0 in 10 innings. And I got razzed by a couple of my followers because I didn't pronounce Zach Plesac. I don't know. Anyway, all I know is he threw 5 2/3 innings of shutout baseball. So they don't pay me to pronounce names. They pay us to win. And that's what we've been doing on this free pick channel. So please subscribe and don't forget, give us a like at the end of the video. We put some time and effort into these videos. As you can see with our record over the last 7 weeks, it's been outstanding. And just a small token of appreciation, give us a like. Anyway, Doug, Major League Baseball underway. We talked about the Masters a little bit, but the MLB season got underway last Thursday. And I'd like to hear exactly what you look for in early season Major League Baseball handicap, and that you can share with the viewers. And folks, turn your hearing aids up on this, because it's not always about free picks. We're hoping we educate you to the point that you're always going to be, when you view one of our sports betting videos on this channel, you're going to be a smarter, a wiser, and more astute sports bettor tomorrow than you were yesterday. So anyway, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, typically the first 10 days of the season, Ross, I tend to look for underdogs. That's not every one of my plays, anything like that, but that's what I look for first. And because the number of, by the end of the month, the number of the standings in some cases are almost upside down, at least in a few divisions, as to how they'll probably end up at the end of the season. So from that standpoint, I think there's greater value in looking for underdogs. And, you still have to do your homework, got to try and get the right pitching matchups and stuff like that. Or also, I'd like to look for offenses that get hot, okay, even on bad teams. I mean, any team can get hot on a 7-10 day streak. And in this time of year, when everything's not settled in terms of all the bullpens, exactly what's going to happen with the pitching rotations, I think those are elements that come into play. Now, I don't play underdog exclusively. I'm just saying that's what I look for first from that standpoint. And you mentioned the under that you had on Kansas City and Cleveland. I thought it was, well, on Saturday, it was the unders were 13-1-1 on Saturday across the board. And I thought it was ironic because I saw it was at Minnesota, Cleveland, and I'm forgetting the other team. There was one other team, I'm just forgetting who it is now. But the 3 teams I was trying to think of here, they had scored 7 runs in their first 2 games combined. Okay, so 3 teams, 7 runs. Sunday, those same 3 teams scored 36 runs. Okay, in baseball, highlighted by the now Guardians adding up 17 runs on Sunday.
17-2, San
Yes,
Diego
so
and Arizona was the other series. I know that.
that was another one.
In
But
St.
that one I did.
Louis and Pitt. No, it
Oh,
wasn't St.
Pittsburgh.
No,
Pittsburgh.
was it
That's who it
Pitt?
was. I'm
But
sorry.
Pittsburgh didn't score. Yeah, St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Yep.
Yes,
Because I had the over yesterday in the Pittsburgh St. Louis game. Pittsburgh, I think, scored 2 runs in the first 2 games of that series,
that's correct. Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, combined. So, yep, good points, Doug, and something to look at in the early season, folks. If you don't want to pay for our advice, at least listen to our advice on what to look for. So we're trying to educate you here. We do this every day, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and in me and Doug's case, for the past over 2 decades now. That's all we do for a living. And you don't last in this business unless you win or you know what you're talking about, or both. And you know what I look for too, folks? There's a site called Baseball Reference that I would highly recommend you could use for not only your early season handicapping, but handicapping altogether. Now, it's a little bit of a tedious process when you get there, but I could tell you what I look for early on. I like to look at starting pitchers that do well in the month of April, because historically, you'll find that either pitchers are real good in April or they're slow starters, or not so good, average to not good at all. And you'll see trends in certain starting pitchers through the course of the months, that April, May, June, July, and August. And you'll be surprised how many times you find trends that are very consistent in those starting pitchers' performance. The other thing you want to look at, especially early on, is weather. Okay. Especially if you're betting totals. Like I like to bet a lot of totals and like to give out a lot of totals. And for example, on Friday, there was 4 games that had wind conditions that were blowing out of 19 miles an hour or greater. Lo and behold, 3 of those games went under the total, believe it or not. So, but you got to look at that. You got also remember, if you're seeing a total that's very high, you might want to check the weather conditions, because the books, if we know about the weather conditions, the odds makers do too. So another thing to keep an eye on as well. And bullpens, don't forget to keep an eye on bullpens. You know, we've got 3 games to 4 games for each team in the bag right now, and you're seeing some early bullpen returns. For example, the New York Yankees bullpen right now has been on fire. 0.96 ERA and 0.81 WHIP to start the year. Look at who the power teams are right now. The Toronto Blue Jays have bashed out 7 home runs. The Yankees have hit 5, and some teams haven't. I think there's one team that I recall that has only hit 1 home run. I think it's the San Diego Padres. Anyway, just some early handicapping tips in Major League Baseball for the month of April. Anyway, Doug, you got a free pick for us. I can't wait, because it's a great matchup, great starting pitching matchup.
Yes, looking forward to this one, and this will be game 2 between the Mets and the Phillies, and both of them over the weekend got off to good starts, and so they'll continue as we do this. They have a game on Monday night, so we don't know the result of that one yet, and it does make a difference, by the way. Sometimes in doing handicapping, as Ross and everybody should know, the results of the previous game can weigh into your decision for the next day. So you have to take that into consideration. Now, speaking of names, I wanted to be sure. So I actually looked this one up. Because it's been a long time since we talked about baseball. So my initial thought, okay, I want to get Tyler's name right. So it's Miguel. Okay, is how you. I'm sorry, McGill is how you say his name. So Tyler McGill. I was gonna go with Miguel, but now I got it right by looking it up. Wanted to be sure, but he's going to be the starting pitcher on Tuesday night against Zach Wheeler, former New York Met, going for Philadelphia. Now the Miguel, he started their opening game and he was great. 5 shutout innings, didn't walk a Washington batter, and he fanned 6. So he was very sharp. He's obviously one of their studs going forward. Looks like potentially could be a very dynamite pitcher. Was one of their top prospects in the farm system. The Philadelphia lineup, though, is a lot more potent than Washington's is right now. Now, the Mets offense did start well. Okay. They were a favorite, though, in every game at Washington. And Wheeler, for whatever reason, I would be the same way. He took getting traded or being moved very personal. Yeah. And he's 4-1 with a 2.63 ERA against the Mets. And in his last 3 starts, he's only given up 1 run over 21 innings, striking out 25 and walking just 4. Now, there's no question in my mind that Mets are an improved team. Okay. And from, especially the last couple of years, spending money, trying to get everything going. But since 2020, Ross, when they have been in the role of an underdog, they are 28-58 in this spot. So in this one, it's a bigger spread, okay, than I probably even care to give out at this early in the season at -150, which is in part why it's a free play. I'll be honest from that standpoint. But I like the Phillies -148 to get the job done against the Mets on Tuesday night.
Makes a lot of sense to me. So, Doug, I would, I'm not going to speak for you, but we're taping 24 hours in advance, folks. So these lines are subject to change depending on when you view the video. You saw it with me on Friday where I had a game, Miami Heat. I had -4.5, and they clinched the #1 spot that same night when Philadelphia and Milwaukee lost. And Philadelphia, Milwaukee lost. And
that's what it was.
And they weren't even playing that night. The line moved to +1.5 the next day. I was stuck with the -4.5 because that's the way we grade them here. And lo and behold, Miami won by 4. So you win some like that, you lose some like that. But we do keep our grading to the line we give you at the time of the recording. So keep that in mind. But Doug, having said that, if this line moves to 160, 170, which I don't know if it will, just because of the matchup, Miguel, you got to give him a lot of credit. He got the opening day nod with a couple other good starting pitchers on that staff. So if that goes to 160, 170, would you recommend the folks move it to a run line pick?
Yeah, I would recommend that, but to do that, yes, I would. But honestly, I don't think that's going to happen because actually the opening line came out at, I saw 155, I saw 159, I think is what it was on the opening line. And it came down from there. And I think that's a more reflective, accurate line as to what it was. So if it changes, I'm hard pressed to believe it's going to go over 155, and anything other than that, I'm perfectly fine. Just say, hey, take the Phillies at 155 or less. And obviously if it's lower, all the better from that standpoint.
Hey, I mean, if it goes higher than that, you might want to think about the run line. If not, what I tell customers, when a line jumps, I might give something out at 138, 140. And they call me and say, Ross, it's moved to 165. You gave this out this morning. I just got to the computer now. If you don't want them to bet the run line, you could also suggest instead of risking 165 to win 100, risk 100 to win whatever the payoff is. So you're lowering your risk. The reward isn't as great, but you're not making yourself vulnerable to, if that game loses, putting you behind the 8 ball where you have to win 2 games, consecutive games after that just to make a small profit. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense to me. And to that, 2 things that I think of is that I really like that option of the ability, the idea is to win money. Now, we all want to win more, but sometimes it makes more sense to just win. Okay, from that standpoint. So take the win. And the other thing is to always keep in mind, this is a free play.
Yes.
So I want to win. That's why the numbers I've been doing and what Russ and I have been doing on these videos, we want to win. But some, there's, and some of these places I've said many times, they have ended up on my board, whether it be later in the next day, if in basketball or baseball or when it was football, they ended up. But initial thought, this is it. This is the free play. Maybe it gets better if the line moves too much. you have to just pass them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't bet everything, okay?
Right.
And you can't give everything out. I'm not a proponent of some of these guys that see it for, I don't want to pick on any one individual or individuals, but there are some out there that are volume handicappers and they do okay, but the bottom line is you see a guy who gave out 30 picks in the last 3 days, which I just saw on one of the sites I'm on. Now, he had a good run where he's at the top of the leaderboard in the 3-day period. But the bottom line is, folks, that's a lot of risk to take. And depending on the size of your bankroll, if he has one bad day after you pay him, you could be out of business right off the bat. So, again, I don't mean this in a disrespectful manner toward anybody who does that. It's just not for me, and what Doug was saying as far as our free plays here. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I will use one of the free plays I give out here. Most times than not, it will be in a 3-game package or so. I very rarely give out a pick here that I'll use as a 10-star top play, which is my best bets. But by the same token, if I got 5 plays written down and all the analysis done here on my paper or papers, most times than not, I'm looking at say, okay, where's the cutoff point? What qualifies the best? And I might come up with 4 plays that I'm really comfortable with giving out to paying clients and that I'm going to bet on personally. And then the other one I might be making a small bet on, if that, but it's still worth the while to give it out as a free pick. So you can't get mad at us when a free pick doesn't win if you're not paying for our pay selections, okay? And well, you can, but it falls on deaf ears, folks, because at the end of the day, we spoiled you here because we've been winning over the last 8 weeks, but there's going to come a time where we hit a little bit of a dry spell. I could tell you that. Where the record is way, way too good right now, Doug. Like Doug was saying on our last video, he had this 9-week run in the NBA. How's that run doing, by the way?
It's continued. Yeah, I went into the break 42-16.
And he also told you that nobody's that good.
Right.
And when he says that, it's not that he's saying he lacks confidence. It's because he's being realistic. Okay. If Doug hits like he's hit very well in baseball over the last few seasons, where he's at the top of leaderboards, not only for a week or a month, annually. Okay. There's always going to be those big runs within it. And there's also going to be a couple of those small dry spells. What you hope to do over the course of time is have a heck of a lot more good runs than bad runs. And, you don't last this long unless you have. 42-16 is an incredible run in the NBA because it's all point spread betting on Doug's behalf. I don't know if you do any money lines. I do. It's only on small numbers, minus 135 or less, and I'll get to that later. But that's the point he's trying to make, folks. It's not that he's saying I'm lucky. He's saying that nobody over the course of a 365-day period with point spread betting is going to be able to keep up that pace. And the people that really tick me off are the people that wait till you're 42-16 and then they buy and they're pissing and moaning because you hit a dry spell. Well, the whole, like you were just saying, you've earned a lot of subscriptions you just did, annual subscriptions in Major League Baseball because you've proven yourself over the last couple of years. So you're off to a little bit of a slow start. But you know what, folks, hang in there because he's going to eventually bounce out of it. And that's where money management and discipline come into play. Now that I gave that lecture, let me give you my free play. Toronto and the New York Yankees. Right now, as we speak, the Yankees are a minus 113 favorite in this game. Toronto will be going with the left-hander, Kikuchi on the mound, and the Yankees also with a left-hander, and Nestor Cortez, a soft tossing left-hander who did very well last year for the Yankees, surprisingly. Kikuchi, 3 starts in the spring. And another thing I look at, okay, it's his first start of the year. How did he look in the spring? Now, if pitchers look real good in the spring, I don't overreact to that because more times than not, there's a lot of probably half the at-bats they face in the spring is against minor league players. Players are going to end up at AAA or AA. Now, if the opposite is the fact, which is the fact with Kikuchi, 3 spring starts, 6.48 ERA, and a 168 whip, and he allowed 4 home runs in just 8 1/3 innings pitched. To me, that sends up a signal that I don't think this guy is ready yet. I think that he might be off to a slow start. Now, that very well might not be the case, but I'll put my eggs in that basket in this particular start. And also, 38 career away starts for Kikuchi, a 5.09 ERA, and a very lofty 148 ERA whip. Toronto, their bullpen, the first 3 games, Doug, not very well. I mean, 4.91 ERA, I guess, is not horrible, but it's not very good. And what alarms me is they've given up 4 home runs in 18 1/3 innings pitched. And this just in, the Yankees are a pretty good power hitting team. So, and the Blue Jays also, the pitching staff as a whole, they won 2 of the first 3 in their series, or 2 of the first 3 games at home. And they're going to be playing tonight in New York, but the Toronto pitching staff's given up 23 runs in the first 3 games. Again, you're facing a very potent offensive team, and they're potent as well. And you just can't continue to outscore teams 10-8, 12-7 and have a consistent success. Your bullpen and starting pitching's got to come through at some point if you want to be a realistic World Series contender, which a lot of people are predicting Toronto will be. Nestor Cortez made 1 start against Toronto last year. That's the only one in his career. And that was at Yankee Stadium, and he held his own, allowing 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched while striking out 5 and walking nothing. And you know what? Cortez, again, he's a soft tosser, and a team like Toronto that's an aggressive hitting team, he could use that to his advantage. The New York bullpen, as opposed to the Toronto bullpen, like I alluded to earlier, 0.91 ERA and, or excuse me, 0.96 ERA and 0.81 whip in their first 3 games, and averaging better than a strikeout per inning pitch. So I'm going to go with the New York Yankees here, minus 113 over the Toronto Blue Jays. Doug, tell them who you like again with your free pick, and then tell everybody what you got coming up that you might want them to know.
Absolutely. We have the Philadelphia Phillies minus 148 at this time for the free play. So we'll see if we can dial up. Last week I had San Antonio, and they even one of their guys at Denver was one of their key starters was listed out, and they won the game by 20 some points. Yeah. So as Ross was talking about, sometimes you just don't know, especially the NBA that this time or that time of year. Now we move ahead to the playoffs, which we got starting on Tuesday with some play-in games, and again on Wednesday. So as I just said before, NBA run just been super. 42-16 of late, up over $8,300 based on units at Docs. So it's been fantastic. Looking to take that into the playoffs. Do I expect to do that well in the playoffs? Of course not. Okay. What I'm looking to do is to continue to win. So that to keep at 72%, and then with playoff basketball, does somebody do it? Sure, somebody will do it. I hope it's me, or I hope it's Ross. But you know what? I'm not going to pretend to tell you that it's going to happen, okay? Because I have no idea. But what I do know is that the same type of effort that was utilized to get this current streak going will be in play, along with understanding about different characteristics, how NBA postseason is different than the regular season, and in particular, the first round. So, because there's a lot of different dynamics going on in the first round of the playoffs for sure on that. So looking forward to that. Baseball, we're going to keep grinding away, Ross, on that. Hopefully going to have some more golf winners for the Heritage Classic in South Carolina this week. And who's not looking forward to the USFL this week, Ross? Oh my God.
I just got a text from one of the sites. Are you going to be doing the USFL? And I said, yeah. Do you got croquet? I'd rather do that. So,
well, I'm doing it. I'm going all in.
Good for you, man. Go out on a limb. Jump off that cliff, Doug.
That's right. There's a reason there's a cliff there, and there's a reason there's water below. Okay, so I'm going and head first because was it the XFL a few years ago when that was still in business at that time? I actually got off to a very good start, and it's basically the same thing, just leaping off the cliff and see what happens. But you got 4 games a week, It's not like you're like I'm going to be pounding out in Ross's case, like talking about 10-star plays. Not like I'm going to be doing that. Just looking to find some winners, and the rosters are going to be different. Okay, so there's some coaches and some programs are going to be ahead of others, and so there's opportunity early, in particular. I think the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, you got to also know all the rules. Is it conducive to more scoring? That kind of thing.
Right.
And the XFL, they fell off a cliff, with no pun intended. Anyway, Major League Baseball. I had started out 2-3 the first 3 days yesterday, a 4-0 sweep, folks.
Nice.
New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox under the total, San Diego Padres on the run line, Minnesota Twins, and who am I missing? Minnesota Twins. I had one other winner, 4 winners, 4-0 yesterday, makes me 6-3 on the season to start. And my Major League Baseball 10-star top plays, which are my best bets. I told you how I was last year, 42-23, and for the season, which means I'm very careful and when I rate these plays at 10 stars, and 2-0 to start this year. So 44-23 since the start of last year with my Major League Baseball 10-star top plays, 66% that is. And folks, I don't give you anything over -140. And be honest with you, I very rarely approach -140 on my pay selections. In addition to my NBA, the playoffs, as Doug's alluded to, is coming up. And my NBA money line picks, folks, please keep an eye on these, because I don't give you a money line pick in the NBA of anything more than -135, or at least it's going to be an underdog or a small favorite. That's the parameters in which I work with when I give out an NBA money line pick. And this year alone, this is documented at both Sports Capping and Sports Memo. If you don't believe what I put up on my site, they're all matching records. My NBA money line picks at my site and at the other sites are 12-0 this year. And dating back to last year, 19-1. Okay. And that's all documented independently. Feel free to investigate is all I can tell you. Otherwise, if you know me, I've been operating with honesty, integrity for years, just like Doug, and believe me, and win some money. Anyway, Doug, we'll be back on Thursday. More Major League Baseball we're going to do on Thursday. And then we'll get into the NBA playoffs next week when they're in full board. And Doug will also, he'll touch a little bit upon the Heritage Classic, which that's the opening round, right, on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yes.
So he might want to give you a couple more golf betting tips, which he's very good at. Until then, folks, good luck and God bless and take care.